Have you ever felt like you've done everything right, planned, carefully, tried your best, thought through every step, yet things still didn't turn out the way you hoped? You wonder, what did I do wrong? But maybe the answer isn't that you haven't done enough. Maybe you've been doing too much from a place of inner restlessness. Have you ever noticed that the tighter you try to hold on to something, the more it seems to slip away? You love someone, but fear losing them. You chase a goal, but always feel anxious. The thing you want takes too long, while the thing you dread shows up uninvited. And in the middle of that tug of war, it feels like you're living, but deep down, you're just struggling inside your own mind. Then, there are those strange, unexpected moments when you stop doing anything. Just sit still, breathe slowly, let go, and suddenly, what you've been waiting for quietly appears. No loud knocking, no begging. It arrives in stillness, like a gift from the universe when you finally stop trying to force it. 3 stories, 3 different states, but they all point to one truth. Letting go at the right moment can open doors in ways no amount of effort ever could. And that's the spirit of Buddhist teaching. It's not always about pushing harder or running faster. It's about knowing when to pause, when to soften, when to let life flow toward you. So now, take this next step with me gently as we begin the journey inward, a journey toward a kind of peace, trust, and quiet wonder, not through control, but through wise surrender. 1. Calmness, the ground where life begins to bloom. Some days, life feels like nonstop traffic. People rush by, work piles up, conversations blur together. And inside, your mind never seems to stop spinning. In the middle of all that noise, someone might ask, how can I possibly stay calm when everything feels like chaos? But here's the truth. Calmness isn't something we save for peaceful moments. It's a choice, a way of being. Not escape, not indifference, but being fully present without being swept away. There was a woman who came to the temple once and sat quietly in the meditation hall. She had just gone through a painful divorce. Her work situation was unstable. Inside, she felt like a mess. When someone gently asked her, "What are you hoping for right now?" she answered through tears, "I just want to feel still inside." She wasn't asking for a solution. She didn't need anyone to fix her life. She just wanted one thing: to be still, to breathe, to not fall apart. And in that moment, when she stopped trying, stopped doing, something inside her began to soften. Not because her problems vanished, but because her inner struggle did. And that's when life quietly began to blossom again. Not with fireworks, but like a small flower blooming in the heart, a soft relief. In the Buddha's teachings, calmness is never seen as weakness. It's actually a sign of deep strength. Someone who can remain calm in the middle of life's storm is someone who has learned how not to be controlled by what's happening around them. When the mind is steady, the energy you send out becomes lighter, clearer, grounded, and life begins to respond to that energy. Calmness isn't about waiting for a miracle. It's the fertile soil where all good things begin to grow. Like a garden, if you keep digging and watering nonstop, never letting the soil rest, how can anything blossom? Life is the same. When you're constantly worried, controlling, forcing yourself to do something, you often just make things more tangled. But when you pause, take a slow, deep breath, return to yourself. In that one moment, what you've been looking for might quietly begin to show itself. The Buddha said, "When the mind is calm, wisdom shines through." Not because you suddenly learn something new, but because what's always been there finally becomes clear. Like a still lake, only when the water is quiet can you see the sky reflected. And the same is true with your heart. Someone once asked, "But if I stay too calm, what if everything slips out of my hands?" But the truth is, life doesn't always go the way we want, no matter how much we worry. Worry won't stop bad things from happening. Rushing won't make good things come faster. In fact, it's calmness that helps you see what to hold on to, what to let go of, and most importantly, what's already coming toward you, if only you'd slow down enough to see it. There was a Buddhist practitioner, a longtime businessman, who once said, "The day I sat down and drank tea without checking my phone, without thinking about clients or shipments, I realized I had been abandoning myself for years." Maybe what we need is not to do more, but to come home to ourselves more clearly. Because when you're calm, life doesn't open its doors because you knocked harder. It opens because you're finally standing in the right place, the one that was always waiting. 2. Stillness, the doorway to wisdom. There's something interesting about the world we live in today. Everything is always on. Lights, phones, social media, even our own minds. And in a time like this, stillness has become something rare, almost a luxury. But here's the paradox. That very luxury might just be the key that brings us back to clarity and to ourselves. Stillness doesn't mean the absence of external noise. It means the absence of internal turbulence. It's the quiet space where your intuition, your wisdom, and your truth finally have a chance to speak. I remember a middle-aged man who once visited a meditation center after years of running a high-pressure business. He said, "Every time something happened, my mind would immediately go into overdrive, analyzing, fixing, planning. But the more I tried to think it through, the more exhausted I became. And the more exhausted I felt, the more I wanted to control everything." One afternoon, he was invited to simply sit beside the temple lake. No phone, no talking, no planning. Just sit. At first, he felt empty, restless. But after a while, as the breeze touched the water and the wind chimes gently rang, and his mind stopped resisting, he started hearing something that had always been drowned out by noise. His own heart. And in that stillness, a quiet thought emerged. Maybe I don't need to know all the answers. Maybe I just need to learn how to stop. In the Buddha's teachings, there's a powerful image often used. The mind is like a lake. When the water is stirred up, you can't see anything clearly. But when the surface becomes still, you can see straight to the bottom. The same is true for the human heart. When it's filled with anxiety, reactivity, anger, or comparison, everything becomes distorted. But when the mind is calm, the truth begins to reveal itself. The Buddha once said, "In silence, wisdom arises." Not the kind of cleverness used to win arguments, but a quiet wisdom that sees the deeper truth and responds with grace, not noise. If you think about it, choosing stillness today is an incredibly brave act. It means stepping away from a world that's constantly pushing you to go faster, to react quicker, to prove that you know everything. Stillness takes faith. Faith that you don't have to always be doing something to be living meaningfully. Sometimes you just need to sit, to observe yourself, to listen to life through the rhythm of your breath. And that is a very deep kind of living. I've met people after years of running who've come to a single wish. I just want my mind to feel peaceful, even for a moment. And when they finally stop, even for a few quiet minutes, they begin to see things they never saw before. Not some grand cosmic truth, but the simple human truths. That maybe the thing they're worrying about won't actually happen. That the person they're blaming might also be hurting. That they're repeating an old wound in a new situation. That sometimes just one deep breath can make everything feel a little different. Stillness isn't about running away from life. It's the necessary step back, the space that helps us see what's really going on. Just like an artist can't see the whole painting if their nose is pressed up against the canvas, we need distance to see clearly. And life is no different. Stillness gives us that distance to see what's worth holding on to and what it's time to let go of. In meditation centers today, many of the people who come seeking stillness aren't monks or spiritual seekers. They're young people, creatives, tech workers, doctors, not looking for religion, just relief from the noise, not just around them, but inside their own heads. And when stillness is practiced regularly, it becomes more than just a moment of relaxation. It becomes a way of life, a quiet refuge, a place you can return to anytime. And from that refuge, clarity, grounded decisions, and wise action begin to grow. In a world where everyone's trying to be heard, choosing silence becomes a kind of power, not to withdraw, but to see clearly, not to shut down, but to tune in deeply to yourself. Stillness isn't a path someone can push you onto, but if you have the courage to walk it, you might just realize something profound. The answers you've been searching for have been there all along, waiting for you, right beneath the noise, right inside the stillness. 3. Letting go. It's not giving up, it's trusting. There are times in life when we push ourselves to the edge, not because we're lazy or lacking effort, but because we're holding on too tightly to something. A plan, a relationship, a dream that once felt beautiful, but now feels heavy the further we carry it. And in that exhaustion, a quiet question begins to rise. Should I keep trying, or is it time to let go? But many people are afraid of those two words, let go. They think it means giving up, quitting, losing hope. But in Buddhism, letting go does not mean giving up. Letting go is actually an act of wisdom. It means we stop forcing everything to happen the way we think it should. The exact timing, the exact outcome. Because, truthfully, how much is really ever under our full control? There's a story a wise monk once shared about a farmer. This farmer planted seeds in the ground, but every single day he'd dig them up just to check if they had started to grow. He was so impatient, wanting the plants to grow fast. But the more he dug, the more he damaged the tender roots. In the end, those seeds never sprouted. Letting go, in this case, doesn't mean neglect. It means caring with love and then trusting nature to do its part. Like a mother carrying a child. She can't command the baby to arrive on the exact day she wants. She can only nourish the life inside her with patience, with care, and faith in life's natural timing. Life works like that too. Some things need time. Some results need the right conditions. And some dreams, they grow best when watered with trust, not pressure. Letting go is also the first step toward inner freedom. When your heart isn't stretched thin between all the shoulds, when you stop clinging to how things must be, you finally create space to breathe, to see what really matters. In the middle-length discourses, the Buddha taught, the one who knows how to let go knows the path to the end of suffering. Not because they don't have dreams, but because they understand the tighter you hold, the more it hurts. Like trying to hold sand in your palm, the harder you squeeze, the faster it slips through. I remember a practitioner who once shared this. For years, he held on to one belief. I can only be happy if I marry that person. But no matter how much he tried, that love was never returned. He became bitter, lost his sense of direction, and even damaged other relationships on the way. It wasn't until he sat a 7-day meditation retreat that something shifted. He realized his pain didn't come from being rejected. It came from his refusal to let go. His mind was trapped in a past that couldn't be changed. The moment he released the expectation, not erasing that person from memory, but releasing the belief that they must belong to him, his heart began to feel light again. And the funny thing is, new doors started to open. Not because of some miracle, but because he was no longer locked in an old room. Letting go is how we make room for goodness to enter. Because if your hands are clenched, how can you receive anything new? If your heart is full of fear, stress, or control, how can you feel the gentleness that life is offering you? Buddhism doesn't teach us to be passive. It teaches us to live fully, but without being attached to the outcome, to give our best, and then allow the results to unfold as they need to. No chasing, no tugging, no holding life hostage. And sometimes, along that path, there's nothing else we need to do. We just need to pause and release to see where the weight in our heart is coming from. Let go of a little expectation, a little fear, a little ego that insists it has to go my way. Because when the heart truly lets go, the good things in life don't disappear. They just arrive differently, more softly, more surprisingly, and often more perfectly timed than we ever could have planned. 4. You deserve what you believe you deserve. There's a soft but powerful truth that surprises a lot of people the first time they hear it. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you believe you deserve. And I know that can be hard to accept at first. Because who doesn't want good things? Who doesn't want love, peace, and success? But here's the catch. What we want and what we believe we deserve are often two completely different things. There was once a woman who shared during a Dharma talk, "I always wanted a kind, honest relationship, but somehow I kept ending up in connections that hurt me. It's like something in me kept pulling me back toward pain." And when she started quietly observing her inner world, she realized something. On the outside, she said she wanted happiness, but deep inside, she didn't believe she was good enough to have it. She thought she had to try harder, look better, be more successful, just to be worthy of love. That's exactly what the Buddha called wrong view, a distorted perception, not just about others, but about ourselves. Buddhism uses a beautiful image to describe this. The mind is like a clear mirror, but over the years, it gets covered with dust. Dust from shame, wounds, comparison, judgment. And when we look into that dusty mirror, we don't see our true reflection. We see a version of ourselves that feels unworthy, not enough, undeserving. So when something good starts to come our way, we unconsciously push it away. Because deep down, an old voice whispers, "I don't deserve this." Someone once asked during a retreat, "How can I live a life that feels full?" The teacher smiled and replied, "You don't need to do more. You just need to stop living like you're not enough." True abundance doesn't begin with how much you have. It begins with how you see yourself. You are not your job, your looks, or your past mistakes. You are a precious being, whole, complete, just like every other life in this vast universe. If the universe is like a mirror, it will reflect back to you the frequency you live from. If you live in the energy of self-worth, trust, and peace, you'll naturally attract people, chances, and experiences that match that energy. Not because you're chasing them, but because you've become them. But if you're stuck in doubt, shame, or scarcity, even when something good knocks on your door. You may not have the courage to open it, not because you're unlucky, but because your inner door is still locked. So maybe the most important question isn't, what do I want? But rather, what do I truly believe I deserve? That answer will shape the path your life follows. In working with many Buddhist practitioners, especially those in midlife and beyond, there's a deeply shared realization. It can take an entire lifetime just to come home to one simple truth. I deserve peace. Not after achieving something, not someday, but right now. And when someone genuinely believes that, their life begins to shift. Not overnight, but slowly, gently, in the right direction. Because their inner energy is no longer closed off. So if there's one thing worth doing today, maybe it's this. Start treating yourself with the same respect you've always hoped others would give you. Start believing that you don't have to be perfect to be loved. You just have to be real. And step out from under the shadow of self-doubt. 5. Don't chase what's already on its way to you. There's a quiet paradox in life, one that starts to really hit home as we get older. The more you chase something, the further it seems to run, and strangely, the more you let go, the closer it often comes. It's like holding sand in your hand. If you grip it too tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you hold it gently, it stays, naturally. A lot of us grew up believing something like this. I have to run fast to keep up with life. We were taught to push, to hustle, to stay in control, because if we didn't, we'd fall behind. But then comes a moment when the heart grows tired, the body slows down, and the mind becomes overwhelmed. And suddenly, we realize, maybe what we need isn't one more step forward. Maybe it's just one deep breath. The Buddha taught, when you stop clinging, peace will come. It means when you stop forcing, stop holding on so tightly, stop trying to wrestle life into your shape, you begin walking in the right direction. Not towards success, riches, or the perfect relationship, but towards something deeper, inner freedom. That quiet strength that stays steady, no matter what comes or goes. There was once a man who spent nearly 15 years chasing his dream job. He studied non-stop, worked late nights, sacrificed weekends, all to climb the ladder. But the more he tried, the more out of sync he felt. He was overlooked. Opportunity slipped past him. Not because he wasn't capable, but because the timing just wasn't right. And then, when he finally let go, when he stepped away to care for his aging parents, when he slowed down just enough to breathe again, something unexpected happened. A different opportunity appeared. Better fit, healthier culture, no chasing needed. It just showed up. And in that moment, he realized something. He wasn't being left behind. He was being prepared. That line sounds simple, but it holds a powerful truth. You're not behind. You're being prepared. Life isn't a race, it's a flow. Some parts are fast, some are slow. Some curves feel like detours, but they're really just turns toward a better path. Birds don't have to flap constantly to fly. Fish don't need to swim upstream every day to stay alive. And we human beings, we don't need to chase everything to prove our worth. In meditation, there's a powerful practice called just sit. Don't force anything. Don't try to reach a goal. Just sit. Be still. And often, in that stillness, we begin to notice things that were already there. Things we missed while running. Sometimes, the best things in life happen when we stop trying to make them happen. Seeds don't need you to stare at them to sprout. The sun doesn't need your permission to rise. Your body heals many wounds just by letting you sleep. And the same goes for the right opportunities, the right people, the right answers. They come, not too soon, not too late, exactly when they're meant to. The only thing life asks of you is to stay with yourself while you wait. So if you're feeling worn out from the chase, pause, take a deep breath, not to give up your dreams, but to remember something. Maybe what you're looking for is also looking for you. And maybe, just maybe, what you think you're missing was never missing at all. It's just been hidden beneath all the rushing, the noise, the fear of falling behind. Peace doesn't come from how much you gain. It comes from how much you release. Release the pressure. Release the idea that you're not enough. Release the urge to control everything. And from that release, a gentle clarity begins to bloom. Not through effort, but through presence. Because as the Buddha once said, what is meant for you will come. At the right time, in the right way. And when you finally stop and truly listen, you may begin to feel something deeper than any goal. Life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to the energy you live in. 6. Do your best, but don't cling to the outcome. There's a quiet question that lives in many people's hearts, even if they never say it out loud. If I let go of expectations, does that mean I've given up? Am I just being passive? And the answer is number. Letting go of expectations doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you give your full presence to what you're doing without tying your worth to how it turns out. That's what mindfulness in action really is. You act not out of fear. You move not to escape. You give not to prove anything, but simply because it feels right in that moment, with a clear and open heart. One man once shared after a meditation retreat, I always set goals for everything. I try to live well so I'll be loved. I work hard to be respected. But the harder I push, the more exhausted I feel. Because if the outcome isn't what I hoped for, I feel like a failure. That story? It's not rare. A lot of people live this way, like their worth is only valid if the result matches their hopes. If I get promoted, I matter. If I'm loved back, I'm enough. If I succeed, then I deserve this life. But the Buddha taught, it's not the outcome that defines you. It's how you show up moment by moment that reveals who you are. To act with mindfulness means you're not chasing results. You act because it's the ethical, wise, compassionate thing to do regardless of how it turns out. Like a farmer who plants seeds. They can't control the rain or sun, but they still plow the soil, water the plants, tend each little sprout. Not because they're guaranteed a good harvest, but because it's the right thing to do. It's kind, it's needed, it's honest work. Same with spiritual life. A monk wakes up every day, meditates, chants, practices generosity, lives mindfully, not to earn a reward, but because this is the path to inner peace. And even if no grand achievement ever comes, in every mindful step, that person has already lived fully. During a Dharma talk in Southern California, an elder teacher once asked, if every action needs a result to have meaning, then do we still know how to love unconditionally? The room went silent. Think about it. A mother cares for her child. She hopes they grow up well. Yes. But her love isn't based on performance. A true friend doesn't stick around because it's beneficial they show up when it matters. And a mindful person? They don't live kindly because they expect something from the universe. They live kindly because kindness itself brings peace. To act from a place of clarity means you're no longer driven by fear. Not the fear of being judged, not the fear of being abandoned, not the fear of being not enough. You're no longer racing others, no longer obsessed with control. You simply show up, do the work with sincerity, and then gently loosen your grip on the result. Because sometimes the real result doesn't come from what you get. It comes from who you become through the process. A mindful person knows what they're doing, and more importantly, why they're doing it. Not because of external pressure, but from internal awareness. They don't act to get applause or to run from pain. They act because something inside them simply knows, this needs to be done, and I'm ready to do it, even without guarantees. So, if you've been feeling drained from carrying too many expectations, maybe it's time to be gentler with yourself. Do what needs doing. Live how your heart wants to live. But let go of the pressure to craft a perfect ending, because you are not your outcomes. You are the one walking this path with presence and purpose. And here's the beautiful thing. When you live like this, what's meant to come comes naturally. What doesn't come no longer pulls you apart. You live from a deep freedom, not bound by outcomes, not trapped by timelines. And here's the miracle. It's often when we stop trying so hard to get something that life begins to give it, not because we forced it, but because we became someone who can receive it. 7. The universe doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your energy. There's a deep truth that often gets overlooked. The universe doesn't respond to what you say out loud. It responds to the energy you live with your thoughts, your emotions, your silent vibrations. Whether you believe it or not, each of us is like a walking transmitter. We don't broadcast through antennas, we broadcast through our presence. It shows in how you walk into a room, how you look at someone with fear in your eyes, or with peace. That alone carries a signal. One woman once shared with me that she prayed every single night for a better job. She wrote down her wishes. She repeated affirmations. She chanted the names of the Buddhas. But each morning, she still woke up with a heart full of doubt. She feared she wasn't good enough. She feared rejection. She worried that if she failed again, she might not recover. And what happened? Every time she walked into an interview, her heart was unsettled. Her answers were shaky. Her eye contact avoided. Her voice uncertain. Not because she wasn't capable, but because the energy she gave off was filled with fear. And the universe, or to put it simply, the world around her mirrored that exact energy. In Buddhism, there's a beautiful term called mental formations, or tamsa in Vietnamese. It means the psychological states that color every action you take. You can do a good thing, but if it's driven by anxiety or anger, the outcome is clouded. On the flip side, even a small act, a smile, a warm cup of tea, a kind word, if done with a calm and peaceful heart, can carry a healing energy far beyond what words can do. We don't just act, we emit. Just like the sun doesn't need applause to shine, a person who lives in gratitude and contentment doesn't need to say much to attract goodness. They are that energy, and they draw in what matches it. Have you ever been near someone who made you feel at ease without saying a single word? That's presence. That's frequency. No color, no sound, but very real and always affecting the world around us. On the other hand, if your mind is wrapped in lack, jealousy, fear, or insecurity, you can say all the right things, you can pray, you can beg for something good to happen. But the universe doesn't hear your words. It hears your energy. Just like a song that's slightly out of tune, something feels off. And if your life feels dissonant, harsh, or out of sync, maybe it's not because the world is too chaotic. Maybe it's the frequency you're sending out every day. One teacher once said, "You don't need to control the future. You just need to be mindful of the energy you're bringing into the present, because the present is the seed. It's where everything grows from." If your present moment is filled with anxiety, resistance, or fear, then, even if something good comes your way, you'll subconsciously push it away. So the real question isn't, "What do I want?" It's, "Am I living as if I already have it?" You want peace, but are you moving through life gently? You want love, but are you treating yourself like someone who deserves love? You want ease, but have you stopped trying to control everything yet? Your frequency is the invitation you send out to life, not in words, but in how you feel, how you show up, how you exist. If you live in gratitude, you invite joy. If you live with steadiness, you invite trust. If you live in fullness, you become a living magnet for what's right, without forcing anything. And if you're wondering, how do I raise my vibration? Maybe it doesn't require anything grand. Just start by breathing a little deeper, moving a little slower, pausing before reacting, being grateful for something small, and releasing the urge to force things. Because this life, this universe, doesn't respond to the loudest thing you say. It responds to the deepest thing you believe, and the way you live that belief every single day. And when you begin to live with lighter, steadier, more grounded energy, you might notice something quietly powerful. You don't need to chase anymore. What's meant for you starts to find its way. 8. Everything comes when it's time. Living in harmony with timing. There's something so simple, yet we modern people often forget it. Flowers don't bloom just because we rush them, and sweet fruit doesn't arrive faster just because we want it to. In nature, everything has a season, and human life, it's no different. Still, we look around and see people who found success earlier, found love earlier, found direction earlier, and suddenly we panic. Why haven't I gotten anywhere yet? Am I falling behind? So many people carry that quiet weight, the feeling that they're somehow late in life. Not because they're doing something wrong, but because they're measuring their pace against someone else's timeline. I've seen this again and again while talking to Buddhists in their 30s, 40s, even their 60s. There's a common pattern. Almost everyone at some point questions themselves because life isn't moving as fast as they hoped. But here's the thing. There is no right time, only the ripe time. You can't force a cherry tree to blossom in November. You can't make a door open when what's behind it is still being prepared. The Buddha taught, all things arise due to causes and conditions. When the conditions are right, they appear. When not yet ripe, they simply won't. There was once a woman who shared during a retreat that it took her more than 10 years to heal after her divorce. She beat herself up, asking, "Why haven't I moved on yet? Why did others take just a few months, and I'm still here after a decade?" And only during deep meditation and complete stillness did she realize it wasn't weakness. She just had a different process, a different blooming season. Like bamboo, it spends its first 4 years growing roots underground. Nothing shows on the surface. But in the 5th year, it can shoot up to 100 feet in just weeks. Some parts of life are like that. Quiet, invisible, no applause. But underneath, deep transformation is happening. In Buddhism, patience isn't passive. It's a form of wisdom and trust. You know you've planted the seeds. You know you're caring for them. And you trust that when the time is right, the flower will bloom on its own. Someone who understands the rhythm of time doesn't get anxious about other people's speed. They don't feel behind. They don't complain that things are slow, because they know when it's right, it's right. Too soon, The roots aren't ready. Too late? The fruit might fall before it's ripe. But on time? It happens naturally, no pushing, no force. The truth is, it's not life's delays that slow us down. It's our impatience. The more rushed we are, the more we take wrong turns. The more we push, the more stress we create, and the more likely we are to choose out of fear instead of clarity. Sometimes, if you just pause, take a breath, you might notice the path is already opening silently, gently, right in front of you. Some lessons in life can't be learned early, no matter how hard you try. Some people won't enter your life any sooner, because if they showed up before you were ready, you might not recognize how valuable they are. And some doors, they won't let you in until you've grown into the version of yourself that's ready to walk through. So if you're in a season right now where nothing seems to be happening, don't panic, don't compare, and please, don't judge your worth based on how fast or slow things are moving. Because flowers don't need to bloom early. They just need to bloom in season. And when they do, that's more than enough. 9. Sometimes, just be still, and the light will come. In a world that constantly tells you, do something, the idea of doing nothing feels strange, maybe even a little scary. We live in a time where silence is mistaken for weakness. Stillness is seen as laziness. And not reacting? It gets labeled as being too soft. But there comes a moment in life when you realize not every answer comes from doing. Some answers only appear when you're quiet enough to hear them. A man once came to the monastery in the middle of a personal storm. He had just lost his job, gone through a breakup, and felt completely lost. In his overwhelm, he asked the teacher, "What should I do now? Where do I begin again?" The teacher simply smiled, took him to sit under a tree, and said, "You don't need to do anything. Just sit here and stop running away from yourself." In the Buddha's teachings, there's a beautiful word, mindfulness. It means being fully present in the here and now, without judging, without resisting, without rushing. Mindfulness doesn't ask you to do something grand. It simply invites you to come home, back to your breath, back to your feelings, back to the rhythm of your own life. When you stop struggling to fix the past, when you stop chasing to control the future, a quiet space begins to open. And from that stillness, the light shows up. Not a spotlight from outside, but the soft light within you. Always there, just buried under the noise. Like a lantern in the dark. It doesn't run around looking for attention. It just stays still, shining. And whoever needs it finds their way. You're the same. You don't have to constantly hustle or prove yourself. Sometimes, being still is an act of courage. The courage to not get swept up in the chaos. The courage to breathe deeply when everyone expects urgency. The courage to watch instead of react. One meditation student once said, "Before I came here, I thought I had to fix everything in my life. But after a few days of simply sitting still, I realized not everything needs fixing. Some things just need me to be still and they settle on their own." That's a very deep kind of healing. You don't have to fight the current. You just stop resisting it. In meditation, doing nothing isn't emptiness. It's a rich, quiet fullness. It's sitting there, not needing to explain, not needing to plan, not needing to understand everything. You just show up and the miracle begins. Some people spend their whole life chasing light through success, relationships, purpose. But the light they seek, it's not at the end of the path. It was always there. They just moved too fast to see it under their own feet. The Buddha once said, "Within each person lies Buddha nature, a seed of clarity, of compassion, of peace. You're not missing anything. The question is, are you still enough to feel that purity inside you? And once you begin to slow down, not to give up, but to see clearly, you'll notice something profound. The light doesn't come because you do more. It comes when you finally sit with yourself and stop demanding so much. Because the light doesn't need to be summoned. It just needs a little quiet to show up. From that stillness, real transformation begins. Not from action, but from returning home. And when you're still enough to finally stop, and quiet enough to truly listen, you'll realize something beautifully simple. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. What's yours is already finding its way. From calm to stillness. From letting go to trust. From releasing the outcome to embodying the right energy. None of it begins with big action. It starts in a moment of turning inward. A decision to live more deeply now. In the end, this journey is not about becoming someone else. It's about coming back to who you truly are, with honesty, stillness, and wholeness. And if you're walking the path toward peace, clarity, and light, remember, you're not alone. There are many others quietly waking up around the world, step by step, breath by breath. No rush, no pressure, just a gentle return to awareness. If today's reflection touched something in you, please subscribe to Buddhism Seeds so we can keep nurturing these seeds of peace together. Don't forget to like, share this video, and leave a comment below. Because who knows, your words might be the light someone needs to get through their own long night. I'll see you again on the next journey, where each breath, each step is part of coming home.